It's not every day somebody messages me and specifically asks me to go after one of their videos, but you know what? When it happens, I do feel the need to take note. So, I looked through Blaze's channel, and I did find a video that was worth doing, that being his review of Sponge on the Run. Now, full disclosure, I loved Sponge on the Run when I saw it. So I'm not going to act like I'm unbiased in this commentary, but Blaze's reasons for disliking the movie just didn't make much sense. So let's get into those reasons. I'm going to be skipping Blaze's intro and getting right into his review, although I will note, normally in Blaze's reviews, the right half of the screen is taken up by a poster for the movie he's reviewing. For some reason, in this review, it's a cover for the novelization of the movie. It's not a big deal, but it annoyed me enough to where I figured I would point it out.
Anyway, I watched a fan of the trailer for this movie. The animation style looks like absolute shit, and it made me wanna fucking puke.
Okay, why? I'll give you that the move to make the movie completely 3D animated can look jarring if you're used to the 2D animation of the original series, but how exactly is the animation bad? And what about it makes you want to puke? As you might have guessed, Blaze never explains what was so bad about the animation at any point in this review. Wow, I'm really good at finding videos where the key issue is lack of elaboration, aren't I? I don't even do this on purpose, I swear. It's just something that's ended up happening.
So anyway, I'm gonna start by talking about the characters, like I always do. First, I'm gonna talk about SpongeBob SquarePants, played by Tom Kenny. Now, SpongeBob in this movie is an asshole. He is annoying Squidward, and he's doing it deliberately. Even when Squidward tells him to stop, he proceeds to regardless. What a fucking asshole.
SpongeBob annoying Squidward? I'd never imagined such a thing. But seriously, what gave you the impression it was deliberate in this movie? Even in the episodes where SpongeBob is arguably the meanest towards Squidward, episodes like Choir Boys and Squid's Visit, it's never directly even implied that he was doing it on purpose. At most, he was just blind to the reality of what was going on. Now, it is perfectly possible that Blaze has a valid point and is talking about one specific scene that I'm just forgetting at the moment. But if that's the case, well, take a guess what the issue is. I don't know what scene he's talking about. Could you explain it a little bit more, please? Or are there multiple scenes like this? Is this just some running gag in the movie that I've forgotten about? You have to keep in mind, the point of a review is to inform your audience about the movie. If Blaze is not even informing the audience what he's talking about when he's making such massive statements about the movie, and yes, the main character is an asshole, is a massive statement, then he simply has failed his job as a reviewer. To speak personally, when I thought of scenes where SpongeBob and Squidward interacted in the movie, I thought of, for example, the scene near the end, spoilers, where SpongeBob and Patrick give up an award that they won specifically to make Squidward happy and let him think he won said award. Is that asshole behavior in your mind, Blaze? Because if so, you and I have a very different definition of asshole. Oh, and notice how I just used a specific scene from the movie to back up my point, which Blaze never does.
I'm gonna talk about Squidward, played by Roger Bumpers. You know, seeing Squidward as a miserable man has never been fucking funny. So why the hell did they think it was a good idea to make him like that in this movie?
Okay, I'm not going to respond to you not liking this because that's subjective, nor am I going to respond to the fact that you don't explain what you mean by this very well because I just covered that, but I am going to answer your question as to why they thought this was a good idea. This is a movie based off of the SpongeBob SquarePants TV series. It's supposed to be essentially a bigger and better episode that's also movie length. As such, because SpongeBob and Squidward clashing heads was such a big part of the TV show, it made sense they would include it in this movie, just as they did in the first movie, just as they did in the second movie. Again, it's fine to not like it, but it's very obvious as to why it was included.
Now I'm gonna talk about the main story of this movie. Basically, SpongeBob is on a road trip to get his snail back. But how he lost his snail in the fucking first place is fucking stupid. Apparently, the reason he lost his fucking snail is because a greedy king in a city far, far away needed a fucking snail, so he took Gary, and SpongeBob has to get it back.
Okay, you missed a couple of things. The first one being that the greedy king, as you call him, was named Poseidon, which I should note was a reference to the fact that Poseidon is the same name the ancient Greeks gave their god of the sea. Contrast this with Neptune, who we normally see in SpongeBob, and who is the name that the Romans gave their god of the sea. He also wasn't just a greedy king. He was using slime snails produced for the purposes of cosmetics. However, he ran out of snails throughout the entirety of his kingdom. As such, he had his men go look for one, and Gary's a snail, so they took Gary.
Curse you, merciful Poseidon!
I know these may seem like nitpicks, but this plot is a tad more complicated. I mean, it's not amazingly complex or anything, it's still SpongeBob. But it's still more complicated than Blaze is explaining, and honestly, Blaze boiling it down to such a basic level makes it sound like he's not even paying attention. I mean, Poseidon is the main villain of the movie, and Blaze doesn't even say his name. It's not like that would be a spoiler or anything, so what gives exactly?
Okay, that is incredibly fucking dumb. The snail doesn't even fucking belong to that greedy king. So, this is just stupid, and I do not mean stupid in an entertaining or a funny way. I mean stupid in a very bad way.
How? Is the plot just inherently ridiculous? I mean, if so, then it's SpongeBob. If nautical nonsense be something you wish is literally in its theme song. Or do you mean that there's some massive plot hole? In which case, what is it exactly? What about this plot are you deeming stupid? And for that matter, what about its stupidity is bad exactly?
Now it's time for my overall thoughts. This movie is a fucking disgrace to Steven Hillenburg. I mean seriously, this movie is like shitting on his grave. The story is stupid, the characters are unlikable, the art style makes me wanna fucking puke, and with a lot of more other problems. Yeah, this movie is an absolute fucking disgrace to Steven Hillenburg, like I said. For that I'm of course gonna give the rating 2 middle fingers. Fuck this garbage. And it currently is the worst movie of 2021 in my opinion.
I decided to leave Blaze's final thoughts in so you would get an idea of just how strong they were compared to the review, which barely explained anything. This was not a good review. The point of the review is to explain why you do or don't like something while giving the audience information about the product. Now, Blaze did explain why he didn't like Sponge on the Run. What he failed to do was explain much about the movie in question. Blaze is not a bad reviewer. I want to make that very clear. In fact, he's done some pretty good reviews before. However, if the point of a review, especially of a new movie like this, is to explain to the audience what the movie is, Blaze did a poor job. If you had never seen Sponge on the Run before watching this review, you'd know that Blaze didn't like it, that there's this greedy king who stole Gary, and not really much else. It's just not a well thought out video. In fact, it feels like Blaze was trying to get it done as quickly as possible, as opposed to actually taking the time needed to properly formulate his opinions on this. Again, it's perfectly fine if Blaze didn't like Sponge on the Run, but it's not fine to label something a review and then not really tell his audience about the movie in any notable detail. But that's all for today. Good night, and good luck.